Good morning. Today is Tuesday, the 28th day of Sivan, Koyach Sivan, the power of Sivan. This is the day that we celebrate today, a very special day. 80 years ago today, the Rebbe came here to the United States, being saved from Nazi Europe. And we know it's a big day to give thanks to Hashem, to celebrate, because the world would not be the same. We wouldn't be here, not for this day, for this miraculous being saved from the Nazis and coming to America and taking over and revolutionizing Judaism around the world, bringing shluchim. So the Tanya Shir today is just one more example of what the Rebbe is doing in this world, spreading the Yiddishkeit and Chassidus. And we are holding in Tanya, chapter 9 of Shaar Hayichud VeHaemuna, the part of Tanya that talks about the unity of Hashem, the oneness of Hashem, and the faith in Hashem. And as you remember yesterday, we learned about the 5 steps. Comes from wisdom to action. And that by any creature in this world, think about the humans, everything originates with the wisdom. Wisdom leads to emotions. Emotions leads to thought. Thoughts leads to speech, and speech leads to action. And the distance that is between each one of them, each one of these 5 steps, is endless distance. And it's not to compare. They're so far apart. The wisdom, the intellect is something which is connected with a person himself. The emotions is something which relate to something else. And the energy that comes in each one of these 5 steps is also so far apart. So all of this, the Alter Rebbe brings and explains in order to lead us to the understanding what he's going to explain in this chapter, chapter 9, that all of this, we're talking about the distances between these levels by us. But when we're talking about Hashem, we're talking about God. The greatest and highest level for him is as the lowest level. It's all the same. Take that, not only wisdom in human wisdom, even when we're talking about wisdom in the higher spiritual worlds, World of Atzilut, where there's pure godliness, there too, the wisdom in these worlds is, all of this is like action. Compare a piece of sand to the most brilliant human being. Is there any comparison? Obviously not. And yet, Alter Rebbe uses this as an example that there is no comparison. The greatest wisdom and the little sand, both of them there's equal when we're talking about compared to Hashem. So let's look inside how the Alter Rebbe says it. Chapter 10, chapter 9, in the Shaar Hayichud VeHaemuna. Says the Alter Rebbe, Avol legabe HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Now, in regards to Hashem, in regards to the Holy One, blessed be He, Madregas HaChochma, Sheitchilas Machshava V'Reshisa, Hisoif Maaseh Etzle. The level of wisdom, which in all created beings is the beginning of thought, and its Genesis is to him the final stage of action. The greatest level of Chachma and the lowest level of action by him is the same. The Hainu, which means Shenachsheves kehilu ibchinas umadregas asiya lagabe HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In relation to the Holy One, blessed be He, the wisdom is considered as if it were the quality and level of action. And the Alter Rebbe brings a verse from the Tehillim that it says, Kedechsiv, Kulam bechachma asisa. As it is written, you have made them all with wisdom. Now, the simple understanding of this verse means you made all of this with wisdom. You were acting wisely doing this, so to speak. But in a deeper meaning, when we're saying kulam bechachma, if you were talking about wisdom, wisdom is an intellectual thing. So to say, when you're talking about wisdom, you should say you thought with wisdom, you intellected at them all, or something like that. When you're using the word of action referring to wisdom, here it comes to indicate, it comes to tell us something, and that is that the wisdom and the action by Hashem is all the same. The action is on the bottom of the scale, the bottom of the 5 steps. A little piece of sand compared to the greatest brilliant idea. All of this is the same by Hashem. V'hainu loima, which means to say, sheke'erech hachayus shebe'asiyeh gufnis v'gashmis le'erech chayus hachachma. That is to say that wisdom relative to him is as the quality of the life force in the physical and the material action is in relation to the quality and life force of wisdom, which, as we explained earlier and yesterday in length, that obviously the level of energy, level of life force that there is in wisdom is infinitely greater than what we have in action. Which, because the wisdom, she'reishis u'mokar achayus ba'adam v'chol abruim gashmim. The wisdom being is the beginning and source of the life force in man and all physical creatures. So certainly there is such a big distance between these 2 levels. And the same thing, this is to use as an example to understand the distance that is between Hashem and the greatest level of wisdom. And he goes on to explain the distance between the 5 levels. And that is, the life force of physicality is as nothing in comparison with the life force in the letters of speech. Which in turn is as nothing, the letters of speech is as nothing compared to the life force in the letters of thought. The letters of speech is already limited. Letters of thoughts, you can think a million things instantly. So it is much a higher level, on a much higher level. The distance between the letters that you think and the letters that you speak is an endless difference. And it goes further, whereas the letters of speech originates from emotions, as we explained yesterday. The emotions lead to thought. Whatever you think because you have some kind of conscious or subconscious feeling towards that thought. So the energy that there is in the thoughts is as nothing compared to the energy that there is in the emotions. That's what it says. Which in turn is as nothing in comparison to the life force and level of the emotive attributes from which this thought is derived. The thought is derived from the emotion. And he goes further. Shehu ke'ayin legabe chayes u'mailas madrigas ha'chachma bina v'das mekoir hamidus. Where is the source of the emotions? As is the intellect, the wisdom, understanding, and the knowledge. So he says, which in turn is as nothing in comparison to the life force and level and degree of wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, the source of the emotive attributes. Because the intellect, this creates the emotions. And that is why one can manipulate the emotions. When you think, and you use your thought process in the proper way, you're able to develop feelings, the proper feelings for the proper things. But in any case, the point here is to show the distance, the endless distance between each one of these 5 levels. So goes and the Alter Rebbe says, Kein mamish, exactly so, erech u'madreigas u'mailas ha'chochma, shireishis u'mokar ha'chayes shebekol ha'olamus. Exactly so is the quality and level of wisdom, the beginning and source of the life force in all of the worlds. Legabe HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chvoidei u'be'atzmai. In relation to the Holy One, blessed be in His glory and His essence. Comparing the highest level to Hashem Himself. Ameroimam v'amisnasei riboy rivvois madreigas roimimus. Who is elevated and exalted by myriads of degrees of elevation. Yoisem eroimimus madreigas ha'chochma al b'chinas chayir sheba'asiyah. More than the quality of wisdom is elevated over the quality of the life force in action. We said that the wisdom is much, much elevated from the action, but it is somewhat is a number to it. It's 5 levels. This is an elevation of only 5 degrees. Shehein madregas, b'chinas, asiyah, v'dibur, machshava, v'midos, v'seichel. Is the levels of action, speech, thought, the emotive attributes, and the intellect. Those are the 5 degrees. And although from between each one of them there is like an endless, it's like a, not to compare one to another. Nevertheless, it is with 5 degrees higher. Aval HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we're talking about Hashem, we're talking about God, the Holy One, blessed be. Ram u'misnasei mimadreigas ha'chachma. He is higher and exalted above the level of wisdom. Rivavois madreigas ke'ela. Ad ein kates. By myriads of levels, myriads of degrees to no end. So it seems like a contradiction. It says myriads of degrees. It says not only 5, but it has myriads of degrees, tens of thousands of degrees, higher and higher and higher. But then he says no end. Is it? But if it's no end, so why does it give the myriads of degrees? That Alter Rebbe is going to explain tomorrow. What we're talking, Alter Rebbe is using. Now we are using the terminology that is only available to human understanding. So this is the end of today's shir. B'ez Hashem will continue tomorrow. Tonight we will have also the shir and the Torah studies, 8 o'clock, followed by the yortzeit of Chaya Kamilasara. May this year also be Leila Nishmasa, which is the yortzeit tonight. All the best. Any questions?